Hello and welcome to a quick video where I will try and find the most valuable defenders on Football Index. So first of all, it can be very useful to have a look at the average matchday winning scores across the different match days for defenders. So on a bronze match day, you're looking at a score of 178. That jumps up to 207 on a silver match day, and then up to 227 on a gold match day. And that gold match day winning score is quite a lot lower than that for midfielders and forwards. That's simply because defenders aren't going to be getting hat tricks and braces very often. They're not on set pieces, and so they're not going to be hitting as high peak matchday scores compared to the midfielders and forwards who are often competing for the gold match days dividends and also star man. And then having a look at the average dividends earned from high matchday scores across the different matchday score brackets, you can see that a score of 200 to 224 for a defender, that will actually result in an average return of 3.18p. As always, there's going to be a lot of variance. That defender may earn no dividends at all because there might be another player who hits a higher score, or alternatively, they might return 28p if no other player hits a high score on that match day. But these are the average dividends earned from the different match score brackets. So let's have a look at some players then. And as always, I've got this graph showing the matchday scores over 200. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is the first player on the list. He's actually hit 13 scores over 200 since the start of last season, and that is probably why his price actually hit over £9 or maybe even £10 at some point within the last sort of 6 to 9 months. I remember when his price was that high. Now he's at £2.48, and that's why I think he's great value. Previously, I didn't think he was particularly good value. I couldn't really see what the hype was about him when he was at £9. I've never held him in my whole Football Index career. I still don't hold him now, but I do think he's a good hold now at £2.48. 13 scores over 200, 5 scores over 250. He has been a little bit overlooked this season, perhaps because Andrew Robertson's been hitting higher matchday scores, and that does make a big difference, and they are always going to be competing. But overall, I think Trent's got huge potential. He does suit the PB matrix. He can take set pieces, and I'm sure he will return his price and dividends throughout his career and possibly even the next 3 years. You never know. So there we are. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold. Next on the list, though, hitting the second most scores over 200, it is Andrew Robertson, and he just has to be on the list. 94p worth of matchday dividends have been earned by Andrew Robertson this season, which I think is incredible. In fact, I think that's since the start of last season, but the majority of those have come this season because he's really increased his dividend output. And then over the last 12 months, a 44.3% dividend yield, which is really impressive on that £2.12 price tag. So yeah, I think he's pretty good value, to be honest. Next on the list, he does fall below that trend line, so a bit of a rare pick here, but he's so young, so much potential. I think he will hit higher scores in the future. It is Alphonso Davies. 3 scores over 200. They're not the highest scores, to be honest. He doesn't really cross that much, but he is pretty good at key passes. He's very strong at dribbling. Seen him a lot of times take on some really strong players. I remember last season, actually, he absolutely destroyed Reece James in the Champions League against Chelsea, so he can do it against even very good fullbacks. And 9.1% dividend yield as well for a 19-year-old is really impressive, and I can only see him getting better. And then next on the list is another player who I've talked about quite recently in another video. It is Achraf Hakimi. He actually has no instant sell price as I record this, so it might be worth hanging back on this one until his price falls even lower, because I wouldn't be surprised to see him be bought for around £1 or so fairly soon. But yeah, 6 scores over 200. He did do particularly well at Dortmund, and he's still doing pretty well at Inter. I think he's got like 5 or 6 goals this season, which is really impressive to say that's his first season in Serie A. 6.4% dividend yield, not the best, but dividends have increased as they have for all these players, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him return more of his price and dividends over the next 12 months. Now moving on to the final player on this list. He is quite a bit cheaper than the others, especially now at his very low instant sell price, and he was a lot higher previously in the last 12 months, but it is Sergio Reguilon of Tottenham. He hasn't really hit the highest matchday scores since he moved to Tottenham from Seville, but he has actually hit 3 scores over 240, which really stands out to me. 4 scores in total over 200, 45.7% dividend yield over the last 12 months, which is really impressive. And I have seen him whipping some lovely balls into the box for Tottenham, and so I think he could hit some high matchday scores in the future. So just to conclude, these are the players that really stand out in terms of the high matchday scores over 200. You do have some younger players who fall below the trend line, like Reece James and Alphonso Davies. And then you also have quite a lot of older players who were really strong at hitting matchday scores, but they're a little bit out of favour for one reason or another. You got Ramos, Alba, Thiago Silva, Alexander Kolarov, but like Kolarov doesn't even play that often anymore. So I just think like it's probably better to focus on the young players, especially if you're in it for the long term on Football Index. So your likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Hakimi, Davis, they're probably going to be some of the best defenders in the world in the future, and so they've got a great chance of returning huge amounts of their price in dividends and probably being worth a lot more in like 2 or 3 seasons time. So thanks for watching as always, and I hope you have enjoyed today's video.